Welcome to episode 101 of the Triple Po, the postmodern polymath podcast. And I would like Facebook to realize that before they keep jacking me on my name change. I didn't tell you this, but they told me I couldn't change my page name on Facebook because they thought I was like deceiving people. So I appealed it. I got an email today saying I had to send them proof of where I fucking told people that I was rebranding. So I sent them the page link, the WordPress page link. On that page is the link for the podcast itself, and on YouTube is the live show. And I even posted on their page, the Facebook page. So I don't know do I have to suck somebody's dick? I don't know anyway.
You gotta suck the zuck to get your name changed.
Oh, that's very clever.
I know. I could rhyme. No, I mean, all they had to literally do was just look at the fucking page.
Really? It's just ridiculous. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. So everybody's sick this episode. Physically sick and also sick of pigs. So let's go ahead and set that out right now. Oink. This is going to be the ACAB episode. Not all cats are beautiful.
But they are.
Although they are. Even Grumpy Cat is beautiful.
Rest in peace.
All cops are bastards, I think you know. So, without further ado, let's bring on our guest who has a lot to say on the subject. You probably know her from the Ginger Snaps, but I know her as a friend and as a meth addict. How's it going? Amy, how you doing?
Suck my dick, Chris.
I think we've been through that already.
We haven't. Your girlfriend can videotape it, and we can make money off it on the internet.
Is that how we get the page name changed?
That's how you get a raise in business.
Go on. Go on.
Anyway.
All right, so
yeah, you've got me. You've got me. I am me. Who are they?
Okay, so first of all, before you start running off with the mouth, let's try to introduce you properly. Amy Kuhel.
Kuhel?
Is it Kuhel?
Mm-hmm.
Since when? Has it always been that?
December 12th, 1977.
Okay, we're going to overlook that. You never corrected me.
I went to school with a brother and sister with the same last name, and it was Kuhel. And then later they just started referring to themselves. He started saying Keel. She kept the Kuhel.
Whatever you want to call yourself.
Potato.
You weird pipes. Anyway, Amy Kuhel, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get into the meat of the subject?
So let's talk about my background. I went to college. I went to school for criminal justice. I graduated with an associate in science in ASS and a bachelor's of science, a BS. So I've got a BS and an ASS in criminal justice. I worked with cops. I went to school with cops. I interned at places around different institutions. I've been to I like to tell people without them knowing that I've been to prison 4 times and jail 9 times. But that was as a guest and as a student, not as an inmate. But it made... Oh, shut the fuck up.
Go on, continue.
Thank you. I've worked in private security, loss prevention for retail and in treatment centers, drug rehabs, and before I'll say this for sure. Before I got my education and before I started working with cops, and before a story I'll tell later, and before I came out of the closet, because I am a ready poly pansexual trans woman. There should be one more in there.
Damn it. What is it with you snowflakes and having to have all the labels? Okay.
You know,
Jesus
Chris, have you ever had anal
Fuck.
sex? Because it sounds like you just need to loosen up.
Have I received or given?
Butt plug. That's what I'm.
Oh no, I've had prostate stimulation. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you need it now, and I'll go message your girlfriend. Get this taken care of.
She actually has. I don't have the actual thing. It's cool. It has a remote. And shit.
Does it really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
badass. You should wear it on the show and give her the remote.
You know how hard it would be to film?
Hey, hard being the ample word.
Okay.
Where was I?
I have no idea.
Before I went to college, before I learned about the American criminal justice system, and before I worked in it and got involved in it, I was very much one of these pro-cop motherfuckers. I was like, oh, you just don't understand how hard the job is. They're heroes. Wank, wank, wank on my face. I got my opinion on cops after working with cops and learning about the system and how biased the system is. Yeah, that's it. I'm an atheist and a skeptic. That's what I was forgetting in my labels.
Oh, forgot that one part. Okay.
Just the one.
We've introduced her.
Mm-hmm.
You have a couple of things that happened to you.
Yeah.
The same.
No. Maybe. It's hard to know.
I mean, it's relative privilege.
That's true. I have to be a little careful about how I tell the story because I got stuff happening.
Right.
Okay. But
I'm just
yeah.
setting it up.
Yeah. I mean, I got to gather my thoughts. This hurts my head.
Don't worry. You'll have time.
Okay.
She'll run her mouth.
Run my mouth, huh? Motherfucker.
Go.
And fight.
And what are we talking about? We're talking about ACAB, which is not assigned cop at birth, but rather all cops are bastards. This is a newish term coined by who else? The internet. Thank you, internet. Which is a smallish black box with a blinking LED on top. And Jen broke it. No one saw that show? Okay, moving on. So when I was young, and probably
when IT crowd, right?
Yeah.
That's a great show.
It is a great show. It was a great fucking joke. Anyway.
I'm slow.
Take my word for it.
Day,
Somebody on the internet laughed at that, and I'm proud of myself. Just somebody somewhere. When I was young and when Chris was young, it was pigs or just those fucking cops. I don't know how old Lyman is, and I'm not going to ask.
37.
Okay, so probably when you were a teenager as well, it was pigs, right?
It was pigs.
Or just those fucking cops.
Yeah, that too.
And fucking pigs, man. Fucking pigs.
5-0 fuzz. The noise.
The 5-0. I forgot about the 5-0. That was a thing in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, especially after they rebooted Hawaii 5-0 into the theaters.
That's right.
Which was a mistake.
I never watched it.
Have you seen the TV show?
The old one. I haven't watched the new one.
The one from like the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should have just left it with that one.
Yeah, I agree. And I figured since we are science-loving, skeptically inclined social justice warriors, well, at least I am, I thought I'd polish up this fucking shit show with some data as well as some personal anecdotes.
What? Facts?
Facts, statistics, and data. Now, I wouldn't go as far as calling them facts. That's not fair because there's always problems with data, especially when we're talking about statistics, especially when we're talking about self-reported statistics, and especially when we're talking about self-reported from police department statistics.
That is true. But what we can say is best available information.
The best available data that we can derive our conversations from. Because there are real hard facts of why I say ACAB besides my personal experiences. And why cops and policing and the criminal justice system just as a whole sucks in the United States. These were taken from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. Chris, I may put the links up somewhere. I don't know. It's his show. But if we look at the, what's that? Was that a no?
I will.
Thank you. You're a real professional. I appreciate you. That wasn't sarcasm this time. It was an earnest compliment.
He's a scholar and a gentleman.
Well, he's a scholar. If we look at the rate of crime from like the 90s, we see a downward trend till today still. For example, there were about 6 million victims of violent crime in 1993. And in 2018, which is the best available data that we have at the moment, or the latest available data we have at the moment, there was a little over 3 million. So that's and it keeps going down. Except there has been an upward trend since 2016. Wonder why. There has been about, I think it was a 0.7 or a 1.7% increase from 2016 to 2018, which was around 1 million victims, I believe. I didn't do the math, and it was...
Is that a million increase or a million total?
1 million total victims. It went from like 2 something, just a little over 2 million to almost 3.5 million victims of violent. These are just violent crimes. Crimes are separated into different categories like violent, person and property, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, do they categorize violence as only physical, or is it also disorderly conduct, screaming, stuff like that?
Well, okay, disorderly conduct is not a violent crime, but if you punch the cop while he's arresting you for disorderly conduct, it becomes a violent crime. Sure generally, when they're talking about violent crime, they're talking about when we talk about property, they're talking about armed robbery, armed assault, carjackings, armed carjackings. Usually, when there's a weapon present. When we're talking about violent crimes dealing with persons, we're talking about the big ones: rape, murder, rape of a minor, and
domestic abuse,
domestic violence. Those are generally the big ones we're talking about when we're talking about violent crimes. That doesn't include non-violent crimes or non-reported crimes. But the good news is that it was trending downwards until 2016. Now it's trending upward. The victims of violent crimes tended to be higher for females, about 1.5% higher for females, which translates into a couple million people, rather than males. However, males generally were the offenders of these crimes rather than females, of course. Also, for our more woke audience, beg my pardon with binary language. I'm speaking in terms of the statistics that were giving to us, not the reality of sex in the human species. And if we look at incarceration rates, about 7% of the U.S. population is in jail or prison. 7%.
Which breaks down to roughly 3 million.
A lot of fucking people, right?
Yup.
And that was on an upward trend. The only downward trend were inmates for black males, but it wasn't a big downward trend.
Downward from the 90s.
Downward from 2 years prior. It's weird how they separate these statistics.
Well, it's worth noting the 90s was probably the part of the 80s and into the crime bill of the 90s is basically the pinnacle of mass incarceration.
Yeah, that crime bill. We talk about the crime bill that Clinton put through. We're also talking about mandatory minimums, 3-strike rules, stuff like that. None of these things work. War against drugs really came to a head in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a piece of shit. Anyway, the rate of incarceration of males was about 200. I don't think that's right. 223.36. Yeah, it was. Okay. The rate of incarceration was about 2,336 per 100,000 for black males, compared to 397 per 100,000 for white males. So, and black men were also more likely to be sentenced more harshly for violence crimes and serve longer sentences. For the women, 92 in 100,000 black females was the incarceration rate. 49 per 100,000 for white females, and 66 per 100,000 for Hispanic females. I couldn't find the Hispanic males, so I you go off the data you have. So as we can see there, if you're brown, you're gonna go to jail. You're going to go to prison. You're more likely to get sentenced more harshly. You're more likely to get sentenced or charged with a violent crime versus white people. And it's been that way since we started tracking statistics in the criminal justice world. It's always been that way. Black men especially are jailed and sentenced longer to prison per capita.
They also spend more time in jail even when they're given bond because they're essentially too poor to pay a bail under $1,000 because our laws are enforced in places where we refer to as the inner city, and which is a direct result of the war on drugs.
Oh yeah, and bail is a whole nother thing. That's just a punishment. That's an added punishment for the poor, because anybody that makes a good amount of money, generally white people, right, don't have really a big problem paying bail. We see rich people go to jail and pay millions of dollars in bail, and they don't have a problem. And if I went to jail, for instance, and the bail was $150, I'd have problems coming up with $150. It's just a punishment for the poor. It's not a punishment for anybody else.
Yes, poor tax. Debtor's prison. Really.
Yeah. It's also let's note that the prison system, the corrections system in America is touted as being rehabilitative, or
Fuck says that?
The professionals in the criminal justice system say that.
With like a 50. What was it, like a 53% recidivism rate? I think
no, it's much higher than that. That's a fucking lie. Recidivism rate
for the first time.
Oh yeah, recidivism rate is in the 90s.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. In actuality, it's in the 90 percentile almost always.
Most of the statistics that I've seen range in between like 51 and like 60%.
Yeah, I would doubt that data and see.
Again, it's
the problem with that data that I found generally was that it only went back for a year. Like, did this person stay clean for a year? Not 5 years, not 10 years, not 2 years. That's how a lot of treatment facilities also categorize their sobriety rates. Was this person, did they start drinking again after a year? No. Well, that's a success. A year and a day, 366 days. Well, that's still a success. So again, like I said, we just got to be careful about statistics, but
it's almost like they don't have a long-term plan for these people and just want to say it works so they can keep making their money.
Yeah. That is exactly it, in my opinion.
We're saying, Lyman.
Well, I think what I'm saying is the white man is just trying to keep the black man down still. And
no, white man.
No. Hey, you should start a hashtag with that.
Prank caller.
See how it goes. Okay, so now the Bureau of Criminal Statistics, they do not keep track of trans and queer crimes or crimes committed against trans or queer people as a special group.
Is that not considered? Do they just categorize it as a general hate crime?
Yes, if they track it at all, because it's not a hate crime in every state.
Is it federally a hate crime?
No.
They're trying to push it through, but they still can't get it through.
Yeah, Republicans.
Isn't that
federally LGBT population has no protections. And whether you have protections either for your job, your relationship, or whether crimes against you just because you're queer or on the LGBTQ spectrum varies by state, city, county. It's all over the place. So it's kind of hard for the federal government to include it in their data because technically it's not part of their data.
Yeah, I think now if it becomes a federal crime that it's involved, like let's say somebody goes and I don't know, like goes and does something awful to a pride rally or something like that, and it becomes a federal crime. Do they then track it because it's technically terrorism, or do they just lump it in with terrorism?
Well, they would lump it in with a different violent crime. It wouldn't be a hate crime.
That's nice.
In their statistics, yeah. So, I mean, the violence rate against queer people has rose 17% from 2015 to 2017. Wonder why?
It's hard to know.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's increased by so much.
Oh.
When we're talking specifically about the trans population, in 2016, there were a reported 21 murders of trans people, 2017, 29, 2018, 26, and 30 so far this year. Don't worry, we still have a month and a half to go. We might just get those numbers up there. Today, by the way, is Trans Day of Remembrance, International Trans Day of Remembrance. There have been 400 reported deaths of trans people worldwide, with Brazil being the biggest suck-ass country for trans people.
Bolsonaro's trash.
Yeah.
Well, it ain't just him; it's the whole fucking culture. Right?
Well, yeah, but he is the Brazilian Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's the impetus for rising violence against queer people in that country. The problem when I say reported is a lot of these murders are not reported as murders because there's a lot of homeless trans people, a lot of unemployed, a lot of trans sex workers, and they're just not considered by the police as people, or not worth investigating. So a lot of these crimes go uninvestigated, unprosecuted, or unreported. And a lot of assault and hate crime as a category doesn't go reported, especially from the queer community, because of the way that it's treated by police and by reporting agencies. It's just like why women don't report sexual assault and rape and stuff like that, because they're not believed. Well, that happens to gay people as well. And although those numbers sound very small, remember the trans population is very small. It at the largest estimate, it would be about 3 million people. At most conservative estimates, it puts it about 1 million in the population in the United States. And the suicide rates, depression rates are still the highest among trans people compared to the rest of the queer community, and especially compared to the white cis hetero motherfuckers. I mean, people, you make that crazy face at me.
That's just his face. You have to excuse him.
Yeah, resting crazy face.
They're looking for a new crazy clown for Rob Zombie's movies.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, great actor. But anyway, I did read an article as well that said that suicide and the most common way a black male youth can die in America is by being killed by police or gunfire.
It is rated as the number one cause of death out of anything, and I think it's like sub age 25 or something like that.
Yeah, it's for black youth. So I mean, the people who are supposed to protect and serve, lying fucks, are actually the ones that are killing off an entire generation of population.
Oh, if anybody doesn't know the history of the LGBT community and the police and why pride parades exist, I suggest you hit Google on that one.
Or you can just go to my show. We've talked at length about Stonewall and different queer events in history.
We should definitely put a link to that show and episode.
I don't know what episode it is. What the fuck do I know? It's my show.
All these statistics, and you don't. You're gonna have to.
I don't remember what I do on my own show.
Fucking shit.
You know what? I'll have to go and listen to them all.
There you
find
go.
them.
I would appreciate that.
I'm a team player. God.
I'd start at episode 10 if I were you, but more power to you. So personal anecdotes, really quick. Why I personally, besides those statistics, and knowing a lot of cops myself, I was, I've been out of the closet for about 2 years, and on meds for about 2 years. And, I'm single. And what you do when you're single is you date, right? Right?
Generally, if maybe.
Well, it was either that or buy stock in Duracell size C batteries. So
Why not
It's
both?
safer. Fuck. Why not?
Yeah, it is true. It is safer.
why not both? Shit, Chris, I've been single so long. Duracell's been sending me free samples for my good customer, my being a good customer for so long. So I am going on.
Go ahead.
I had met this guy on the dating app, and he was in the next town over from the small little town that I lived at in Nevada, and which was about an hour, 45 minutes away, maybe hour and a half, something like that. And so I'm going to go have dinner with this guy because he seems interesting. Well, I found out when I get there, he thought date is what we were on, meaning I was a prostitute and he wanted some freak sex. And I'm like, nah, bro. Nah.
He needs to visit Urban Dictionary because even they got that right.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't let him buy me anything. I didn't have dinner. I sat and talked with the dude for about 20 minutes, had a Coke, and drove home. Now, it's late at night, and it's about 12:30. I figure I don't give a fuck because I'm a full-grown adult, and I can drive around whenever the fuck I want, right? Right?
No.
In your heads, by the way.
The whole internet shook their heads. Now it's got to be mentioned that at the time in the town I was an activist. I was an outspoken LGBT educator and activist. We ran a group. We were starting a pride center. My car was painted with bumper stickers on the back that were pride stickers and awareness and stuff like that. Everybody knew who the fuck I was because I also grew up in this town. So I'm driving home. And I'm about 20 minutes outside of home, and I look behind me and I see a cop roll out from the median, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? I'm not doing anything wrong. He's not going to pull me over, and I don't think about it. All of a sudden, the lights are going woo woo. What the fuck did I do? I'm looking at my speed. I'm like, whatever. I turn my blinker on. I pull over. Cop rolls up. He never genders me, by the way. The whole entire time. He just doesn't gender me. He's just like license and registration. I give him my license and registration. He's like, what were you doing? I'm like, I'm coming back from a date from so-and-so town. And he's like, date? What kind of date? And at the time, I thought it was like a harmless, thing. But he was trying to infer that once again, that I was engaging in sex work, which sex work is fine. God, if I could do sex work now, I would, but nobody's going to pay to see this shit naked. I've seen me naked. It's not good. I would have to pay you to see me naked. And
that's bad.
Any money.
That's bad business. That's not capitalist at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me. That's me.
Anyway, self-deprecating humor is all I got, and I'm not very good at it.
It's the best kind.
Yes. And I'm like, I was coming back from date. He's like, what kind of date? I'm like, the kind of date you like get from OkCupid. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, like a regular date, like a regular boy-girl date. What? I don't know what you're trying to get me to say here. He gets flustered and he says, well, what are you doing out here late at night? And I'm like, I'm 36 years old. I can be out here. I mean, I'm going home. Have you been drinking? No. Any illegals? No. Any weapons in that? No. Can I search your car? What? Okay, here's the thing, kids. The thing about car searches is they only need probable cause, and probable cause can be whatever the fuck cops want it to be. And it's one of the exceptions to warrantless searches because of the nature and mobility of vehicles. So if I would have said no, he would have searched the fucking car anyway.
See, in my opinion, you say no and you make them put that forward, because if something comes of it, you make them work for it.
Yeah, you're not gonna win in the long run. But anyway,
Maybe not.
ACAB. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what? He's like, can I search your car? And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, dude. Wear gloves. I actually said wear gloves because I'm a slob, and there was garbage in the back seat because nobody sits back there. So I figured, why not put empty Coke cans back there, right?
Logical.
Makes sense to me.
We've all done it.
Yeah, exactly. And it was wintertime, so it wasn't exactly going to get clean. Well, it was fall, I believe. So I get out of the car. Again, this motherfucker has not gendered me. He has not told me why I've been pulled over. He has not said anything to me besides you were a whore. And so he's like asking me all kinds of questions, and I'm standing there. It is now like 2:00 in the morning in the middle of the night, and it gets fucking cold in the desert, and I didn't bring a coat. So it was like 30 degrees. I'm standing on the side of the freeway while this asshole cop searches my car for 45 fucking minutes. What does he find? Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. He found
Figure.
empty cigarette cartons. He found some old Cokes, maybe some candy bar wrappers because I like candy. And that's it. I mean, I don't even think I had farted in the back seat of that vehicle. And he literally huffed and got pissed off. And he puts his flashlight in my face and he's like, what? Because I was laughing, which you shouldn't do. And I'm like, nothing. I just find this whole exchange entertaining is all. And that's my right. I can laugh at this. And he just said, whatever, you can go. And that's it. So in the process of this hour that I was held on the side of the road by a cop for no fucking reason, I was accused of being an illegal prostitute, a drug mule, and anything but a human fucking being.
That's fun. That's fun.
That's nice. I mean, we got pulled over the other day, which is clearly not even remotely as dramatic, because we just got the license plates for the car that we bought, and I wasn't paying attention. Number one, in Phoenix, where I'm from, we only have one license plate. It's on the back, and
yeah, that's pretty common in the West.
Yeah, and so out here in Maryland, you have two, and I was in a hurry to slap the plates on, wasn't paying attention. I put the one with the stickers on the front and the one without in the back. So we go get coffee. We're driving. I see the cop pull out from from out of a parking lot. And he's just like behind me. And I'm just like, oh, let's see if we get pulled over. And probably another, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 yards. The lights go on. I'm like, all right. So we pull over and he's like, yeah, sir, I pulled you over because your stickers aren't on the back. I'm like, oh. I was like, well, I just got the plates. Are they on the front? and he just kind of like stops and looks and goes up and looks at the front, and he just kind of smirks back at me. He's like, all right, when you get home, just swap the plates and drive safe. And it's like, I mean, above everything else, I mean, even the not horrific, abusive, violent, deadly encounters, it's like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, people think that it's protecting and serving, but like really, like, he clearly ran my plate before he pulled me over. It was pretty obvious exactly that the vehicle was registered. It's like, you're gonna fucking pull me over for stickers?
Yeah.
Like,
the reason they do that is because they want to catch you with more shit. Because they figure anybody
it's a Dodge Caravan. No shit is going down in the Dodge Caravan.
No. Cops are like, dude, you never know. You might get all these drugs that this dude's carrying in his Dodge Caravan.
Oh, it's true. That's the goal.
I mean, that's always the goal. Is
a slightly more dramatic one was this is probably, I don't know, probably 2004, maybe 2005. I was just driving to work. I worked like a 3 p.m. to midnight shift at a tech center, and I I was just driving on the freeway, and like all of a sudden these cops pull up behind me. Like I saw two, and they were, you know, hooting and hollering, whatever. And, you know, I pull over and they get on their little mic, and they're just like, put your hands out the window, drop the keys. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so I'm like, okay, like, I don't, just going to work, like, whatever, you know. And they do the whole like get out of the car, walk backwards, da 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 da, like all that stuff. Meanwhile, there's like another 4 or 5 cop cars and a helicopter up above, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And so after that whole song and dance and having guns pointed at me and all that stuff, they come up, you know, and pat me down and all the cuff thing, and they take my ID, and they're just like, wrong guy. And then they just uncuff me and start walking away. And it turned out they were looking for a car that matched the description of mine, but had a different license plate. Which
no
is
apology, no fucking, just here you go.
No, they're just like, wrong guy, and they all just uncuff me, pack up, put my wallet back on the trunk, and that was it. So it's like,
so you got an apology, right? You got a thorough apology, right?
It was very heartfelt, and I actually think I saw a tear in his eye when he apologized.
I just don't. Let me interject. I don't understand. And I've seen this on more than one occasion. Who the fuck do you think is in the car that you need 4 cop cars? I'm using your specific example. And a fucking helicopter. Who the fuck's in the car? The Terminator? I don't understand.
Black guy.
Why the fuck? I've seen this more than once.
Just a black guy.
I'm very imposing.
Why are you so fucking
and I'm Dayglow.
scared, you fucking pig? What do you think is going to happen? Or you just need donuts and you just hungry? You want donuts?
I used to make that joke every time a cop came in my office because I eat donuts a lot when I was in loss prevention and retail. And I have a fucking dozen donuts on the desk, and I'd give them to the fucking shoplifters and shit. I'd be like, here, have a donut. Chill out, dude. It's just shoplifting. What the fuck ever, right? And the cop would come in, and I'd look at the cop, and I'd be like, you smell the donuts. You want one? Every time. They never laugh.
That just made me think of something. So for a while, I was taking my son, who's now 6, but I think at the time he was almost 5, or he was 5. No, he was definitely 5. It was last year. Took him to Dunkin' Donuts. And he was just like, we were just driving there, totally unprovoked. He's like, you know what I want to do? I'm like, what? He's like, I want to get a donut. I was like, cool, we can do that. What kind? He's like, I think it was like chocolate with rainbow sprinkles or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, we can do that. He's like, but I want to eat it like a cop. And I was like, how does a cop eat the donuts? He's like, in the dumpster. And I'm like, oh, I died laughing. It was hysterical.
Oh, the honesty of children, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion is that cops are not here to protect and serve. They are here to protect property and serve, the city mayor, the political system and structure. They're not here to serve us up as a population. I mean, and a good indicator of this is just the behavior of cops in your neighborhoods and shit. You know, people, I used to be a delivery driver like recently, and I was on the, freeways a lot. I never saw a white guy pulled over in the great state of Minnesota or Wisconsin. I never saw 2 cars with a white guy pulled over. 2 cop cars, white guy, never saw it happen. I saw lots of people pulled over. Every time I drove past a person of color, whether it was a female or a male, Hispanics or Latinx, it doesn't matter. If they were fucking brown, there was always 2 cars.
Well, I can tell you that. I mean,
every fucking time.
Up until last year, I was in Phoenix all through Sheriff Joe's SB 1070 or whatever the fuck it was.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, seriously, fuck that guy. Pulling people. You would just see the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office like randomly having unironically brown people on the side of the road. And there were news reports in Phoenix where people were getting pulled over for allegedly not having their seatbelts on, which in Phoenix is something that you weren't able to be pulled over for. It was an infraction after the fact, like if you had been pulled over.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like, so that's where I'm native to Phoenix. So I got to see Sheriff Joe for all of his 17, 18 years of glory. And they used to go on these little like mall tours, which was really bizarre. So they'd set up these little kiosks in the mall, and they'd have all these sheriff's deputies. They'd like bring a couple dogs in and like park some whatever car or SUV they were showing off at the time. And I don't know, you guys have probably heard of it, the tent city that he was running.
Yeah.
So I know a good amount of people that spent time there, because that basically, if you were not a violent offender, like a serious violent offender, and it was something that was short term, they would send you there, which everything inside the Maricopa County jail system is basically one giant human rights violation. Like, they literally had Amnesty International come and investigate them, which is pretty telling. But yeah, they would sell like the pink underwear. They would literally sell those for donations at the malls, and you'd see people lining up for miles because they were protecting
rich people,
brown people.
Yeah, they're protecting you from the evil brown people, the people that don't look the same as me, the people who, fuck the wrong genitals, the people who don't speak my language, the people that scare white folks and good God-fearing Christian folk.
Well, Phoenix is full of those fucking retiree white redneck fucks.
Yeah,
Phoenix is also full of a very large Hispanic or Latinx community too, which is the best reason to go to Phoenix, because the Mexican food is so good.
Yes, and in fact, it's so good. I go back there every month to see my son, and I always end up smuggling burritos back on the plane, and I always get searched for it because they're like, "We need to test these." I was like, "For what?" They're burritos. They're clearly like, well, they're shaped like bombs. I'm like, oh, okay, protect and serve. Gotcha.
They're shaped like bombs.
You bribe them. No, fuck you. Actually, you don't get a burrito.
No, you do not get a fucking burrito.
I miss fucking good Mexican food. The Midwest does not have good Mexican food, by the way. I miss the Southwest.
Maryland doesn't have good. There's one place that we found that is run by this Mexican couple that they fly back for trips like for a month and a half at a time and bring a bunch of stuff back. But they make like real legit Southwest traditional Mexican stuff. But back to the cops. Historically, when they were first founded, their whole purpose was to round up slaves and oppress and suppress dissident behavior, as well as union workers. So not a lot has changed in the let's see, 100. So we're going to be going on about 160 years of cops, roughly, because I think it was like 1839. So it's like 100.
Fox has been on that long?
Oh God, they're great grandpappies.
I got Chris on that one. And of course our policing model, the model that we used as police was basically the English model. We stole it from them and augmented it a slight bit. We didn't take over a whole continent to send people to prison, but I mean, we pretty much modeled that.
We had a whole bunch of brown people or not white people to practice that on.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We showed up and they were like, "Hey," and we're like, "Hey," and then we sat in a rock and they gave us corn and turkey because they were nice.
That's right. Thanksgiving is this.
Yeah, that's right. They were nice. They by no means did we take it by force or committed genocide in the United States. A couple of times we didn't do that. Chris Columbus was a great guy.
No, it was a happy accident. He was the Bob Ross of spice trade.
Okay, like bringing Bob Ross into this sarcasm is not.
Too far.
It was.
Yeah, it is too far. It is too far. That's Bob fucking Ross, man.
He just wanted to find the Indies to get some spices, man, and then he found brown people.
That's another episode. We actually could do a Thanksgiving episode.
I think we have to, but you know what? The bottom line is, white people have always shat on things that don't make them money and people that aren't like them that they can oppress.
Absolutely true. However, I would like to say that, I do think that some form of policing is necessary. I mean, because not everybody is like good and orderly in society, but nothing about any part of our system as it stands now is acceptable, and nobody should accept it. It should be torn down and redone. every part of policing, corrections, courts, it all needs to be torn down and redone up to the highest level. We got this fucking pair of jokers sitting on the Supreme Court. One of them is a goddamn drunk rapist who ignores jurisprudence, which is the basis of our entire legal precedent, because he's a bigot and a rapist, and he somehow gets onto the highest court of the United States. It needs to just be stripped bare and redone. And we need to get people who want to be cops. Fuck all y'all with that little black flag with the blue stripe on your car.
The thin blue line, Blue Lives Matter, whatever.
The Blue Lives Matter. Yeah,
they don't.
No,
they don't. Because you can quit your job. The people that they fuck with.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't quit being people.
Yeah.
If you are a cop and you know one, you should tell them to quit, or you should quit, or fuck you.
The reason that I'm not working in my field is I was very idealistic, and I was like, yeah, okay, the system's is fucked, but I can go in and I can change it from the inside. I can be that inspiration to other officers, to other court workers, to other whoever. And no, you can't. They bully you. They force you out. They make women behave like men. You cannot be feminine. You cannot be gay. You cannot be an atheist. You need to be a God-fearing white male, and if you're not one of those, you need to act like one to fit in.
And there's a couple things, because I've known some people that were police or intended to be police, and they quit. And the general consensus, I think, can be summed up. One of them put it really well, and it's like a cop can only be good for about the first month or two, because after that, he's either not a cop anymore or he's part of the system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the argument that I hear the most is, well, not all the cops are doing. Yeah, we get it. But
I was going to say, why it was put in the question form. Well, not all cops are bad. What about the good ones? Right?
Well, you know what? The good ones are the ones that they're still not reporting their buddies. I mean, there's still part of a system that is inherently biased and prejudiced, using basically the brown population and black population in the United States as slave labor in prisons, and certainly not friendly to queer or trans people, especially trans people. And they stay quiet. They stay behind that thin blue line because they need to make, they just got to feed their family.
There's so many other jobs you could do other than even if you're not beating people up, pulling people over because they're not white, etc., you are still participating in maintaining a system which is fundamentally fucked from the top down.
I mean, we can simplify it even better. You're fundamentally supporting the system that kills young black men.
There is no kinder, gentler Charlie Manson. It doesn't matter what you think. Like, you're not going to argue with me or even probably make the argument that, well, not all the KKK people go and try to lynch black people. Well, they're part of the fucking group.
Mm-hmm.
There is something to be said about lying down with dogs and fleas and all that good stuff. And that goes for the administrators, the people that push the papers, they answer the phones, that clean the toilets. I don't care. Stop. Same with ICE, all these fucking people. If you are on a support team of any kind that enables it to exist, quit or fuck you.
Yep, exactly. I'll tell you a quick, this criminal absolutionist. I mean, we house more criminals than any other country, even per capita, right? We house more of our population in prison than any other first world, because I don't think the United States is a first world country. Yeah. When you're talking about the criminal justice system, you have to use air quotes a lot or you'll get in trouble, right?
Justice.
There's no fucking justice.
Criminal.
Unless you're white and male and straight and rich, there's no justice in this country. Anyway, I was doing loss prevention, right? And I'm doing my shit and I'm catching shoplifters and what the fuck ever. I hate my job. I was really good at it too. And there's this homeless dude. Looks a lot like Chris, kind of.
Fuck you.
You hadn't said anything in a while, so I thought,
I'm listening to you.
I'd bring you in the conversation. So I roll up on this homeless dude and I catch him. He is fucking just stuffing sandwiches, like deli sandwiches, into his pockets. And I'm like, oh man, don't make me fucking bust you. You're homeless and man, I bet you are super hungry. And I didn't have a choice, right? It was my job. So I bust the dude and I'm talking to the dude and I've got my partner in there and my boss. And I'm like, it ended up being like $14 worth of shit, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I personally cannot send this dude to jail. I cannot call the cops. I cannot put it in our system. I cannot do this. I am going to pay the $14 and I'm going to give these guys the receipt and he can take his fucking sandwiches and walk. And I got shit for it.
And that's part of the thing that people don't understand is that, yes, there are flagrantly violent assholes and criminal people that just exist because not everybody is good.
I've met them.
Yes, we see them every day on TV. You're the best.
No, I mean I met them.
Yeah, I mean we've all met them. We've seen them.
No. You remember the guy who killed his wife, Lacey Peterson, in Salt Lake City?
Yep.
Yeah, I met that dude in prison.
Good times.
I mean, I didn't.
There's a documentary out on him now.
Yeah, I didn't get to like shake his hand or anything, but I saw Scott Peterson, and I did shake the hand of a murderer, a guy who killed 14 people.
But mine was in witness protection. Sammy the Bull Gravano, because he was in witness protection in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Sammy the Bull.
Accidental
You should have got a
meeting.
Fucking autograph, dude.
Nah,
this
he's
guy,
scary.
This guy was.
Dude, I'm sorry.
I can't believe
mob on mob shit. Fuck them. Let them kill all each other. I don't fucking care.
All right. Well, okay, Chris. I mean, stop watching The Godfather.
You're at my daughter's wedding.
This is the day of my daughter's wedding. I can't.
Chris's teddy bear looks like a horse head.
That shit was fucked up.
Anyways, no, this guy was in solitary. He was not allowed to be with the other prisoners. He was only allowed rec time for like an hour per day. And
can we just put a pin in that for a second? Like, I don't care who the fuck you are.
Yeah, no. So, and we're as a class, right? A class of adults with the warden of the prison. We're talking to this guy, and the dude's like, "Hey, warden, can I shake their hand?" And the warden's like, "Yeah, if they want to." And I'm like, "Dude, I'll shake your hand." And the warden's like, "Hey, now tell the nice folks what you did." And he's like, "I murdered 14 people, and if you let me out of here, I'd murder again." And that's bad, right? That dude needs to be separated from society. But the response from my classmates was that of like wiping their hands on their pant sleeve, like the murder was contagious. You know,
it's very unironically symbolic.
Yeah, and I'm just like, fuck, dude, you're a normal guy. This is weird and wicked and interesting in an academic way. Not that you murdered people. That's pretty fucked up. Yeah. But no, yeah, dude, this dude had murdered 14 people, and he said if he got out, he would do it again. So I'm glad he's not out, but
he should honestly have a better quality of life than an hour of rec a day in solitary.
This is
that's a different show.
That's a very long conversation. That's another argument I make, because I argue against the death penalty. I argue against solitary confinement, or the method that we confine people, and that, you know, they're like, people often make the argument, well, they get better food and they get free HBO and shit like that. They don't.
Oh God, go shoplift and see how good it is when they take you to
that
jail.
Is not the reality of jail or prison and living in jail or prison. And it is the fucking, it is not rehabilitative. It is a revenge seeking justice system, especially on the correct, and you did wrong, so we're gonna get revenge on you as society.
Which, even if you didn't do something heinous like that, and you get put into there's not just because let's say you were super poor and hard up trying to like feed your kids, so you sold weed and you got caught and you went to jail and you went to prison, got convicted. Like, there's not a different standard other than maybe being put in the shoe or being in Gen Pop that one is getting versus the other. You're getting thrown in with the gangs, with the hardened criminals. You're not being rehabilitated. And if you have a drug problem, you're getting thrown, like, it's a medical problem. It's a psychological and medical problem. Like, that is a fact. Nobody comes out.
mentally ill people.
Well,
There's
I argued this in college about the underlying issues with drug addiction is generally like mental health or social economic status rather than addiction and evils and blah blah blah. But I want to put a pin in that on offenders really quick because I was on a warpath and I fucking forget what I was saying now.
Shaking hands, contagious murder.
Yeah, and a lot of people will argue, that a person like that doesn't deserve basic human dignity or a good quality of life. But look, that's a reflection on us as a society, how we treat our criminals. And if we treat them poorly, we're literally not better than that murderer. He's still a human fucking being. We can't bring those people back, and we don't want them back in society, but we also don't want to torture people. Because that's bad, right? Torturing people is bad. That's a bad thing to do.
There's a basic concept that I think people don't understand, and it's that legality is not a replacement for right and wrong and morality.
And just because you've done something wrong on any level does not mean you get to strip away their humanity, their autonomy, and their rights as a human being. Now, that affects recidivism rates. If you are, let's say you're a 19-year-old and you got your baby mama pregnant and you're selling weed to get shit to make things by, to pay the doctor bills, to maybe get some, food on the table or pay rent or whatever the fuck the situation is. You get busted for selling weed. They sentence you to 15 years in prison. And that kid is going to go into the system. He's young. He's stupid. Not all young people are stupid. It's just,
he's naive and he doesn't have a lot of life under his tires.
Yeah, okay. And he's going to get intimidated right quick. He's going to join a gang and he's going to come out of that system a worse criminal than he went in as. And it's going to keep cycling a life of criminality because it becomes the only thing you know how to do. And the only thing our society will let you do, because we won't let you vote. We won't let you have a fucking job.
Oh, you mean it's almost as if the debt to society is never paid.
Never paid.
And of course, private prisons make it even worse because they make money off.
Yeah, and
people getting convicted, and of course, there's this kind of, I don't know how you say, thinly veiled effort to get people in those prison beds or whatever.
Well, a lot of the federal prisons, when these companies get contracts to build them and exist, there are minimum occupancy guarantees on them, which, I mean, there's so much to unpack there, but like the two basic principles is like, wouldn't it be a good thing if you had less people in prison? Like,
well, and we should.
How can the population in prison keep going up?
And as federal administrators, we walk in with that expectation, like it's got to be profitable, it's got to be viable. We don't walk in with the expectation of, no, we don't want to keep building fucking prisons. We want to go the other way around. We want to reintegrate people in society. We want to make people better. We want to make society as a whole better. And we need to, you're never going to get rid of criminality. There's always going to be criminals because there just always is going to be criminals.
I think the big thing depends on how we define criminal and what we define criminal. Like, there are objective things that are not okay. Like the guy killing 14 people, that's
not okay.
That's clearly not okay.
Fucking madness.
But, if I think that is a totally different thing than somebody who steals food because they're starving.
Exactly. The kid who got busted for weed is getting treated the same in the system by the guards, by the peers, by the population, as the guy who fucking murdered his wife and buried her body in the desert, or the guy who killed 14 people nonchalantly going, yeah, I did it, I'll do it again.
And the fun part is like, okay, like, clearly, if you haven't picked up on it, I don't belong in prison. I would not do well there. But let's say I had problems there. To protect me, they put me in solitary.
Just imagine my life. Just imagine my life as a trans woman. If I went to prison hypothetically, if I
Sure.
went to prison, I mean, trans women are the most at risk person in a prison population. It's more dangerous for me to go to prison than it would be for a pedophile or a murderer, and they usually, or a rapist, and they usually put those people in their own little special population because they're so at risk of being harmed, right?
So I got a question for you about that, because I honestly don't know. So if you're trans, do they put you in assigned to what your gender identity?
See, that's a whole other thing.
That varies state to
Like
state.
state to state, county to county, et cetera, et cetera?
Yep.
Yeah, that's an issue too. Yeah.
Generally, in my experience and in my research, whatever parts fall between your legs, you're going to be matching that population.
And is there like, if you went to federal prison, what do you know what they do?
They would put you in a men's prison if you had a penis.
Yeah.
And what if you were what if you had gender reassignment?
They would put you in the female population.
So literally, it's what bits you got between your legs?
Yep, it's all about the bits.
That's so bizarre.
You know what it always comes down to.
Yeah, it is bizarre, and it's very dangerous. Look at me. Do you think I belong on the men's side of the prison? How the fuck you think you're a pretty boy?
Listen,
how long do you think I would last?
She's talking to you, Chris. No, I don't belong there because, like, I don't know. I just don't. It's just not my. I don't pretend to be a tough person.
I'm not tough either, and you know.
But you actually somehow make me look like I belong there that much more than you do.
Well, I mean, statistically,
I do.
Statistically, you would be safer.
Are we really arguing who would be better in prison?
How about can we get 2 votes to just send Chris there, because no one would mess with him?
Yeah,
compared to both of us.
Y'all are here.
We can do this show. We could do this show better.
Let's bring it down here.
Listen, one of us has got to grow a beard, and I don't know that either of us can do that.
I can't anymore.
I can't.
I will glue a beard on my face for the show.
Replaced.
All right.
I would totally let you do that. Okay.
You know what?
When
Chris is when Chris is sick, we'll have you put on a beard and a wig, and you could be Chris.
Fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Y'all.
If you want to do that to yourself, go right ahead.
Come on down to Nashville, get some hot chicken.
Masochistic. That's on you. All right, so I did want to mention right quick that I was in negotiations, is the right word, but I've been talking to a guy who wrote a book called The End of Policing, and Alex, I don't know if it's Vitali or Vital, it's Italian.
I think it's Vital.
Yeah, I've read the book before, and actually Dan Arrow, which eventually we're going to have on the show, if I can ever get Lyman the book to read, is that he actually...
See, the problem is I can't read. I went to school in Arizona.
Okay, that doesn't...
Anyway, carry on.
Anyway,
I went to school in Utah, so fuck you. I'm definitely below you again.
Ex-Mormon?
No, I'm not ex-Mormon. My family is Mormon, but I never. No,
Okay.
I fought the system.
We'll go, all right, we'll let Chris wrap up, and then I have some 3 mandatory things that if people haven't watched, they should watch.
So what?
On the topic of ACAB.
ACAB. I'll mute my mic and let Chris finish.
All right.
So what? The ACAB?
Oh, it's
ACAB. Shit.
Holy.
I'm sorry.
Chris is sick.
Okay. Let me shut up.
Hold on. Muting.
Okay. So he's going to come on eventually. I've been talking to him. Hopefully get him on. As far as the ACAB stuff, yeah, he's going to say something else on it. But as for my part, all I wanted to say right quick was ACAB, and of course we've made the point, well, all cops. Surely not, just like not all white men, right? No, fuck that. You're the fruit of a poison tree. Nobody's making you do this. All, Blue Lives Matter is not the same as Black Lives Matter, because you can take that goddamn uniform off anytime you want.
And you should.
But black people cannot. So anybody who says that, I automatically have no fucking respect for you, and I'm going to spit in your fucking face. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about ACAB. That's what this episode's about. Now Lyman's going to fucking ramble on about...
No, just 2 things. there is a documentary. Well, no, there's 3. There's a documentary called The 13th, which is worth watching. There's another one called The Khalif Browder Story, which is also worth watching. And more recently, there's if you don't know, there's a show called Patriot Act on Netflix, which has an episode called The Broken Policing System, which I think between those 3 things, if you at least can't get an idea of why people lump the policing system and the justice system in general into being giant bags of crap, I don't know what to tell you. Like, apparently you just need to get like roughed up by a cop or something.
You
woke.
need to get it woke, folks. That's total. What's that called? I'm stealing that from an appropriation. That's total appropriation.
We're not doing woke anymore. That's a whole different thing, and I won't go into it now.
Just be decent fucking people.
Yeah, because anytime these fuckers like Silverman try to co-opt a term and turn it into something negative, then you're a racist fucker if it's woke. I'm sorry, which was a black term to begin with. Now you try and jack it. That tells me that you're a fucking racist on top of being a misogynist, on top of being fucking alt-light, if not full-on fucking a gateway drug. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. I'm sorry I went off a tangent. Those fucking cats drive me crazy. You got anything else you want to...
I'm good. Just those.
I mean,
those 3 things.
I've got a whole dissertation ready, but we don't have that much time.
No, I mean, as far as, any final thoughts you might have on...
You know, I have this real life argument with the people a lot because most of the people in my life are white and privileged, and I just understand that there's a whole world out there of experiences that you don't get to have, and that you need to listen to that population when they're complaining. Now, if more than half of America is collectively...
All cats are beautiful.
All cats are beautiful. If more than half of America collectively, if all the minorities are saying that there's a problem, there's a problem. Just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean that there's not a problem. Do you want
empathy.
me to? Yeah. Do you want empathy? Do you want me to sell my shit? You want me to do my
plug it?
Plug my shit?
Before my cat destroys everything I own, yeah, maybe you should.
All right. Plug my shit. So, podcast of mine that's returning very soon, if I can get my mental health under control, is the Ginger Snaps. You have to search any podcatcher of your choice for the Ginger Snaps. I do that with my co-host William, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything from a queer lens. We try to be funny. We swear a lot and make bad jokes. If you want to just look at my face and you like video games, you can find me on Twitch at Princess Amy. That's without the
Just kidding, I love you.
I know. I love you too, Chris. It's PRINCSS Amy. You can find me there. I mostly do that on the weekdays when I'm fucking bored.
And if you didn't get that, if you're watching this video, it's the name right
under my face because I'm trying to sell myself.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get. I mean, you can put literally anything. It's not like something's stopping you, but she put this silly little...
Okay,
Silly.
I had to put it that way.
Business.
I had to put it that way because it was fucking taken. All right, just step back, yo.
But it's not taken
Step off my
here.
shit. Step off my shit. Don't shit on my dick.
Oh my god, what the fuck, man? You need to get laid.
The look on you guys' faces was fucking just worth saying that on air.
Yikes.
Hey man,
Don't
kink shame. Don't kink shame. Fuck off.
Hey,
go ahead.
Everyone do you, boo boo.
Oh God.
Anyways.
You can find me on Facebook, Amy Kuhel. You can find the show on Twitter at The Gingers, or Instagram, which is shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Don't add.
I can't remember what our Instagram is.
We'll put it in the notes.
It's on the
You don't
show's
have to remember
website.
all this stuff. Yeah, I was gonna say all that stuff's coming on our website. Just your website or your Facebook page. Or both.
Facebook page or the
It's
the-
most people gonna only go to Facebook, so just go to find the
the
Ginger
Spreaker
Snaps.
page. The Spreaker page. That's the closest thing I have to a website. I'm not
Yeah,
a web. I'm not a web guru kind of person. I'm not gonna make a website. It will look like shit. Or GeoCities.
GeoCities, holy shit! They stopped doing that years ago, didn't they? I used to have a GeoCities. Anyway,
Angel Fire.
Angel Fire. I'm not that old. Never mind. I have no idea what you're talking about.
What the fuck, you? You're old as I am. I know what the fuck it is.
Hey, I'm almost 42. I am almost the answer.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah,
You're
I'm almost 42.
God damn it! Do I have to be the oldest person?
Well,
You're
I
the
mean,
oldest thing.
I'm sorry you're old.
You know
Hey,
what?
at
Everybody-
least you can tell us what it was like to ride to school on a mammoth.
I'm gonna fly out there just to knock your ass out. You know,
Hope so.
Did
No, I
they?
wanna go see
You couldn't walk
sights.
uphill both ways because they hadn't invented hills yet, right?
Man, go fuck yourself. Both of y'all go fuck yourselves. Anyway,
I love you, love you, Chris.
considering how much, and I say this seriously, Amy's going through some things. Won't go into detail, but I do appreciate her coming on here, despite all her life issues and the fact I'm the garbage. This show's garbage because Lyman. I don't know what I was thinking.
Lyman lives don't matter.
LLEM.
My life is shit. Oh, I'm gonna write a book. Oh my fucking god.
Look what I found. This is what happens when you live with children.
What the fuck is a dinosaur? Nobody can see that in the podcast.
I
Lyman's holding a fucking toy dinosaur.
I am an atheist, therefore I could never live with children because I would just eat them.
Boys and girls,
Thanksgiving is that time of year.
this is the atheist conspiracy right here. It's all a
Dinosaurs,
lie.
velociraptors.
It's all a lie.
You know, I wonder if velociraptors
Chris.
really were teal and rubber.
It's true. Probably.
Although I will say that Christians say that Jesus or God planted fossils to test our.
No. God didn't do it.
Good.
The devil planted the fossils to trick you into not believing in God.
Oh, well,
Listen, if there's anything that was planted, it was fucking Christians to test our fucking patience.
yeah, really, Jesus fucking Christ.
I just recently turned down a girl on a dating app because she's like, I go to church. And I'm like, bye.
No,
We're not going to get along.
That's a no-go for me.
Negative.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Negative.
Negatory, sir.
Ghost Rider.
I've known people that legitimately thought that dinosaurs were a conspiracy. And that
I've
Earth
known
was like
people
5
that have
pounds.
looked me in the eye and literally said in earnest, why do you eat babies then?
They're fucking delicious. They're tender.
I reminded them that I only eat Christian babies.
Touche.
They're not tainted with caffeine.
Or drugs. Because, atheists feed their kids meth.
No, that's just you. Anyway,
Fuck you, Chris.
love you, mean it. All right. I'm going to let it stand at that because Amy, I love you, Amy. Thanks for coming on. again.
Thanks, Chris. I love you guys
Yeah,
too.
indeed. Thank you.
It's been third time as a headliner, but she was on the 1 year Podunkiversary.
The Podunkiversary.
Podunkiversary, like a trying to reverse birthday, right, Chris?
When is the when
yes.
it when is the
When is it?
Podunkiversary? When's the next one?
Well, see, I don't know if I can do that now because I've had so many.
Well, when was it?
I'd have to go look. I don't remember. I'd have to go look.
You don't even remember the birthday of your child? How dare
I'll go
you?
look again just for you. Okay.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
on
you.
YouTube. It's on my channel. You can go look.
I can't read.
Arizona. Arizona.
Hey, they're up from second worst in education to third.
Exmo.
hmm
Mississippi is always the bottom, so you've always got that to work towards. I guess.
Not everyone can be Mississippi.
Amy, you mentioned that. I gotta ask, when is the
Trying to reverse a birthday.
A what?
Trying to reverse a birthday.
Is that a thing?
It is.
She came out as trans or whatever.
Reverse a birthday. So transgender, rebirthday, anniversary into
Got
one
it.
word. I did not come up with it. It was from Tumblr. I don't know which user, but I love it because it infuriates Chris because he can't say trying to reverse a birthery.
When I first heard it, it sounded like some weird therapy that people came up with to try to, I don't know, Christian you into something. I don't know.
The 8th of May is my trying to reverse a birthday. I celebrate. You did, and I appreciate it, and I celebrate that more often than I do my birthday.
Trana reverse a
Yeah,
birthery.
Yep.
I sang her that a couple of times.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's actually more important day for me than it is most other days. If I'm being.
Should we
But
just
anyway.
like make that the new podunk anniversary?
Because no, I don't want to steal her.
No, I don't steal my thunder.
We'll just have her on every
Well,
May
let me,
8th.
first I got to figure
Whatever,
out.
it's been
No, but
said.
that
It's
is-
on the internet.
We
Yeah.
can. That's true.
Yeah, we'll
can
figure
go
it out.
on and
Can't
use
take it
I'm
off
just-
the internet.
I'm just talking shit. Just ignore me.
If the world doesn't burn down before then. But anyway.
Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, Amy, let me know when you go back on for sure. Of course, I'll tell everybody and the grandma. And again, thanks for coming on. We love you.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
See you later.
Try to take care of yourself, okay? If you need anything,
Trying.
let me know.
I will.
And everyone get well.
Yeah, no
Sure,
shit.
all right.
Hey, take your vitamin C.
And let me try this one again. I think I figured out. No, wait a minute, Lila. But you got to say something clever, okay? Ready?
Why don't dolphins do anything on
Okay,
accident?
I'm not there. See,
They
this
do
is
it
what I'm
on
talking about.
porpoise.
You're a
What?
fucking dad, aren't
say
you?
It again. Say it again. What?
I said, why don't dolphins do anything on accident? Because they do it on porpoise.
Okay. And you got anything clever? You got anything clever?
I end everything that I do media-wise with this saying.
Yes, do it.
I love you for you, and I always will.
And for me, until next time, y'all take it easy now. Okay?